Here I'm reporting at UNF Media Week 2022. We're outside the Talon Room, where we have professionals having lunch with our UNF communication students.
Devin, how do you like the Media Week so far?
I've actually enjoyed myself so much. Media Week 2022 has started off with a bang.
Just, you guys have to be curious. You have to continue growing. You have to continue learning. It's not going to stop when you get your degree here.
I think is tremendous, and that's why I'm like many of you, like I'm a byproduct of that change over the past decade. So
I'm here with Ms. Paula Lorenzo, who is a professional that has graced us with her time. Ms. Paula, what are you most excited for?
Oh, I just love being able to share some knowledge and tips and tricks with our students because I was a student here myself, and I think my mentors are
Ospreys, it's time for another School of Communication update with ComConnect. I'm Lauren Fox, here to give you a live special update of the School of Communications Media Week. We'll be covering events live all week, so stay tuned. It's Media Week, and we have so many events today that you don't want to miss it. We have the advertising breakout, lunch with professionals, breakouts for PR, digital production, and journalism, and a meet and greet in the UNF Spinnaker office. Right now, it's time for the lunch with professionals. Our reporter is live on the scene to give you an inside look.
Hey guys, it's Austin from Inside Swoop here. I'm reporting at UNF Media Week 2022. We're outside the Talon Room, where we have professionals having lunch with our UNF communication students to kind of tell them what to expect in their upcoming career. I'm going to throw it to Tony right now, who's got one of our UNF students pulled aside to talk to. Tony?
I'm here with Devin outside the Talon Hall. Devin, how do you like the Media Week so far?
I've actually enjoyed myself so much. Media Week 2022 has started off with a bang. The pure massive professionals in our field that just have so much knowledge for communication majors is absolutely stunning. You get to meet all kinds of people, and they've been providing food, so how good is that?
Yeah, it's excellent. Now we'll go to Josh, who has a professional for an interview. Josh?
All right, I'm here with Ms. Paula Lorenzo, who is a professional that has graced us with her time. Ms. Paula, what are you most excited for?
Oh, I just love being able to share some knowledge and tips and tricks with our students because I was a student here myself, and I think my mentors are who helped me kind of grow in my own career, and being able to share and kind of, just help everyone benefit from it is what I want.
I think I can speak for most of the communications department when I say thank you so much for gracing us with your time.
Of course.
Really appreciate it.
Awesome, yeah.
Stay live.
Great job,
for
you
more
guys. Yes.
Work.
I'm Lauren Fox, and thanks for watching.
Hey there, Ospreys. Welcome to another School of Communication update with ComConnect. I'm Joshua Rigdon, here today to give you a live special update on the School of Communications Media Week. We'll be covering events live all week, so stay tuned. To kick off the week, we'll take a look at digital marketing in the NFL in Building 14D, Room 2001, where guest speaker Jennifer Garvalia discusses the intersection of advertising, video production, journalism, and marketing. Our reporter is live on the scene to give you an inside look.
Hey guys, I'm at the School of Communication building outside room 2001, where one of the first events for Media Week 2022 is underway. We're going to learn about digital marketing with the digital marketing manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's take a look inside.
They're handling the design for all of these verticals. They're also handling the design for our ticketing team who needs something, or our fan entertainment team that needs something, or the foundation team that needs something. So while these are funneled under marketing, sometimes they touch a lot of different verticals as well. So now we'll get into digital and social. So kind of perfect segue into this slide. Here's a breakdown of what our team looks like. We have a director of digital and social. We have a manager of digital, which is myself, the manager of social. We each have one person under us, and then we have our own social content producer, which is strictly video. So any sort of video production. I know somebody over here was on the production side. This is different than our production team, which is a larger entity of the organization, and then a social graphic designer. So I'm sure many people in here are familiar with, you might not know our graphic designer, but you probably know the work he puts out. All of the memes, which he made me promise that when I came here, I would tell you guys that we create a lot of memes. And while we do, it's not the only thing that we do. On the digital and social side, our teams work very close together. We have a single office. We all kind of sit in what we call a mini war room. And we do everything from planning to producing to building to analyzing to publishing. Every single piece of content that goes out on social. So social is probably a little bit more well known in terms of what kind of content that goes out there. From an app and a website perspective, we do everything from the show live streams when those go out, the push notifications that you get on your phone, updating player stats when they go on the website, changing roster transactions when draft comes around. So we definitely keeps us busy. But we try to have some fun with it too. The other question we get asked a lot is, people sometimes get mad at us on Twitter when we can't make changes to the organization based on their feedback. We like to remind people that there are humans that do read the comments. We are those humans. We see the conversations. We know how fans feel. While we are not the decision makers there, we do inform some of the decision makers. So your comments do go read and analyzed. It's a good and a sad part of the job. And how that kind of works is that we have a lot of, we work with a sentiment vendor, good or bad. We generate reports on a weekly basis, Mondays after game day. We can see how the fans are feeling, whether they were at home watching the game, whether they were in stadium. So if you had a bad experience in the stadium, don't worry, we know about it. And it's a pretty cool, we do listen to it, we give that feedback then as a marketing team. We then distribute it over to the ticketing team so they know if people are upset with ticket prices or ticketing fees. We give it to our fan experience team, so the people that you communicate with on game day. So it's kind of what's really cool, or what I think is cool about the digital and social team is we touch every department within the organization. And especially today, just based on how much people rely on the digital space. So we get to see a little bit of everything, and that keeps us on our toes for sure, but it makes every day a little bit different, which is great. And I don't think these are going to play because it's a PDF, but I can send something around after. But these were just quick. So these first two are videos, just examples of some content that we put out in the social space. This first one is a big thing for us this year, which I personally thought was really cool. We updated our app this year. What does that mean? We made it into dark mode, which from just a high level is something that people will acknowledge. But if you do have the Jaguars app, you will see that the back end of it is all hard coding on how we build out our experiences. So if you are logged into your Ticketmaster account on game day, you can log into your Jaguars app and it would say, hey Jen, welcome to game day, or whatever it might be. So I think sometimes people are not sure just how deep we go on the digital side. So everything from we're creating the graphics that go within the app, none of that is automated. I think a lot of times people think it's automated, but there is a person putting that together. But then we also hard code it. So we work with the NFL, we work with our app vendor to make sure that the score of the game updates in real time, that the countdown clock is updating in real time, which is pretty cool. And we have flexibility to kind of make it everything we want it to be, and a little bit of branding and kind of how I talked about earlier. You'll see, if you really want to, you can download multiple club apps and compare them, and you will see that there's a lot of similarities because, again, while we're not competing necessarily off the field, we all kind of start with the same template, and clubs are just able to make it what they want. This video here was just a little inside scoop for what we do prior to traveling for away games. This is an example of when we do get to interact with the players. We'll go into the locker rooms after a practice. This year we've been doing a content series that we have players finish the song lyrics for songs that all relate to the destination that we're going. So this one was all songs about California. I'm sad it's not going to play. I'm not going to sing, but it's a good way to just get to know the personalities of the players too. Not only for us, and it builds a level of trust between us and them, but us fans too. It's, you know, and we're fans on the inside as well. While we work there, we're also fans. So it's a great way to kind of let you guys know that Josh Allen has a horrible voice and you probably don't ever want to hear him sing. Or so-and-so really knows all the song lyrics to every single song. And then the last one is a meme example. This was when we beat the Chargers. It was a really simple graphic that kind of took off for us. If you don't get it, it's a broken Charger after playing the Chargers because we beat them. And it kind of exploded for us. And these are the things where we talk a lot internally of, we will spend hours producing a video that.
Thanks for tuning in for an inside look at Monday's Media Week 2022. Stay tuned this week for more live updates from the School of Communication. I'm Joshua Rigdon. Thank you for watching.
Hey there, Ospreys. Welcome to another School of Communication update with ComConnect. I'm Lauren Fox, here today to give you a live special update on the School of Communications Media Week. We'll be covering events all week, so stay tuned. Interested in learning about how promotion experiences differ between men and women? Well, check out today's panel discussion. All the guest speakers are listed here, and they'll be talking about their experiences in the field of communication surrounding gender differences. Our reporter is live on the scene to give you an inside look.
Hey guys, Austin Maida here reporting at UNF Media Week 2022. Today we're at room 2001, where inside we have panelists of men and women executives that are here to talk about their experience with promotion and wages in the communications field. Let's move inside and hear from them live.
Made a biggest impact on my professional life, and I've also had women bosses who are not all that. So, but I've been fortunate in both cases, and I think now there are more conversations among employees where they would have that, because I think we see it as like we need to protect the next person. If, you know, wherever that boss was, if she knows that somebody is going to go work for her, you kind of have to have that conversation. Even if it's just helping to hook them up and say, hey, you may want to go talk to this other person who's more recently worked with them to see what it's like, but here's what my experience was, to be honest, so that you don't put somebody, you don't know something that could have helped prevent somebody from even entering into that world in the first place.
Right. Mia, you hit on this a minute ago, but in the industry, do you feel like you've been successful? I don't know how to say this exactly, but you are a successful woman in the industry. Do you feel like you had to change anything about you to do that? In the sport, especially in the sports arena?
Yeah.
And we have a lot of young ladies that are, you know, that are studying sports marketing and that kind of thing, so they want to get in this space. So,
Right.
You know, and I see women on the sidelines of the football games and things like that. they seem to be themselves, but do you feel like you've had to change anything about you to fit into that space? Or were you like, this is me and I'm coming in and get out of the way?
Yeah, definitely the latter for me, needless to say. But it's funny you mentioned that about the sideline reporters, because I'm sure most of you know who Erin Andrews is.
Yes.
Yeah. Florida grad from the state of Florida. Growing up, and I've known I wanted to be in this space since I was 14 years old. I couldn't stand Erin Andrews because I thought she was fake. Because I didn't think she truly, like from my 14-year-old viewpoint, I just felt like she was playing a role. And it turns out my little 14-year-old intuition was right on, because she has since come out and said, both in her podcast, which I'm an avid listener to now, and in interviews that she's done, that she felt like not only was she kind of filling that role of like, this is what a sideline reporter is supposed to be because she wanted that job, but also, she had a stalker and that made her extremely self-conscious. There was actually a peep camera that was installed in her hotel room. And so she became extremely guarded and she really couldn't be her authentic self. And so now what's incredible to think is, she's 43 years old, and not only does it truly seem like, and it comes across when you watch the broadcast, and I don't want to speak for her obviously, but it truly, and then she communicates this in her podcast, she sounds like herself now. And I think that I'm blessed in that I can be myself because I see people like her. I see people like Diana Rossini, who even, to an extent, she's on ESPN. She actually just had her second child. And her and her husband made a decision they didn't want to publicize that they were pregnant. But like, if you go through all of her pictures and videos from the past 9 months, because she just had the baby last week, they were only shot from the waist up, or from the midsection up. So no one knew that she was actually pregnant until about 2 weeks before when they revealed it on ESPN. And so I think with that regards, like, she still was herself personally, and Erin Andrews now is like talking about the fact that her and her husband, are struggling to get pregnant, and the infertility that they've gone through and the treatments they've gone through. And so I think we're getting to a point where, like, the fact that we can even have those personal conversations, and it's your right if you don't want to have those conversations on the air because it is, it's your workplace, maybe you don't want to have that. But the fact that we've come from, well, you're just the blonde girl on the sideline and like you're just supposed to be there and look pretty, to the blonde girl on the sideline is like openly having not only a conversation, with the athletes and with her audience, but also then can take that off the page and have a conversation with other young women who want to be in the industry, I think is tremendous. And that's why I'm, like many of you, like I'm a byproduct of that change over the past decade. And so that's why I can, unfortunately, I think I would be unapologetically myself, whether Erin Andrews and company had done that or not. But to that point, it's because, to Mary's point about having strong men, like I was 14 years old and, Ian Eagle, who's the play-by-play for the Nets and CBS Sports, like took my parents aside and said, she can do this. This is what she's got to do. We're going to help her along the way. She's going to go to Syracuse or Ithaca. She's going to move to Montana or Michigan or Maine, and she's going to get her first job there. And so having, those people along the way that said to, me and my family, like, this is what you're going to do, like that gave me that confidence. And not everyone's lucky enough to have that, but seeing women in those roles now turning around, like we were saying, and like saying, hey, let me help the next one in line, I think that's so critical. And that's the biggest change I've seen over the past 10 years.
M states, is that because you're me?
No, ironically, no. They just like literally, like they used to, so funny. And how many of you guys are interested, like journalism, newspaper, TV? Yeah, okay. So if you guys know the Nielsen market rankings, so it's a little bit different for radio and newspaper and TV, the numbers, but in television there are 210 media markets in the United States, and so they would just throw out like the tiniest ones, so like Alpena, Michigan, Billings, Montana, Bangor, Maine. A friend of mine actually did go to Bangor, Maine, for what it's worth, and I visited. It's actually very nice. But yeah, so they just would throw out those, and then I ended up in Iowa, which sounds awful, but actually is market 88, and going top 100 out of college was like, what? Like, that doesn't happen in sports. So, yeah, I ended up in the I-States instead.
Kelly, you work in marketing and have worked with a lot of different companies. So what has your experience been over the years as you see these trends change? And maybe I'll throw this out to you and to any of you. Did the Me Too movement have any effect on what we're seeing communicated through our marketing? Has the pandemic affected what you see your clients dealing with or anything like that in terms of what women are coming to terms with?
Yeah, I would say I don't think I've ever experienced anything in my realm that would be along with the Me Too movement. I just don't think it exists. And again, I think when you choose an industry, if you choose luckily or wisely, you can probably by and large avoid most of those things. And just trying to think about what maybe has changed over my past 30 years of working, maybe I've also been very blessed that I've had amazing men that I've worked for or worked with or have worked for me. And so I just haven't had to deal with a lot of those issues that maybe other people have. And I would even counsel, we've got some gentlemen in the audience here as well, is the pendulum is shifting and almost to an extreme. So we're trying to correct something that has happened, but we may be overcorrecting to some extent. And I have firsthand accounts of male friends of mine who now can't get a job because they're a man, because now the company is specifically wanting to hire a female because they want to fill a quota. This does happen. And so now we get to a point where you'd say, all right, maybe I need a minority on my team. I have to fill the minority bucket. So what happens when you hire that minority? Are they going to be fully trusted that they were hired because they're the best person for the job? There's going to be underlying tension there. And so the best thing that we can always do, what I've always done, and I'm sure everyone here is thinking about, is hire the best person you possibly can. Sometimes it really is a woman. I can tell you, I would never go to a male OBGYN. That's not going to happen, right? So there are certainly some roles where gender really does play into it and it is important. But in many cases, in my industry and in business, pharmaceutical sales, yeah, it's usually a pretty hot chick. I get that too in a lot of sales jobs. But generally speaking, hire the best person you possibly can because you want to work with the best people that you can work with. You don't want to check off boxes. You know, it's funny when you look at a lot of, this is also a good tip when you're looking at companies to work for, you'll see on the HR page, the whole EEOP thing, equal opportunity employer, and all the legal jargon that has to be there. And then directly under that, they'll say, and we're all about inclusivity and diversity, which is illegal compared to EEOP. So keep those things in mind. Always just focus on what do I want to be doing with my life? What is the type of work that I want to do? Work with a company that does that thing and does it well, and you can contribute and be a player in that. If you are good at what you do, it doesn't matter who you are going to do well and you're going to rise to the top. And then you get to a point where I'm at, where now I can pick and choose what I want to do because I've been very successful. I've always just been smart. I've never had any of those issues. I try not to get involved in anything that would be a woman versus a man issue. Just avoid those things entirely. Just do your job, do it well, and people are going to recognize your skills and talents for what they are. And so, and I think, you know, again, because I've been in the industry I've been in for so long, I haven't seen a lot of gender issues. Now, I can say when I was at web.com, it weighted more men on the executive team than women, certainly. Now it's almost exclusively women. And they're very proud of the fact that they're exclusively women, which concerns me, because then I'm thinking, are you possibly not hiring the best person? I had a male boss a long time ago, and he says, Carrie, what's the worst mistake you can make? Hiring the wrong person or missing out on the best hire. And I thought, oh, well, I don't want to miss out on the best hire. He's like, no, hiring the wrong person is the worst thing you can do. So pick your spots wisely. When you become in management and you have to start hiring people, focus on talents and skills. Don't focus on body parts. This just doesn't work.
Yeah. I would say to that I think, it's a luxury often if you're in an industry where that's not going to be an issue. And if you happen to be a person who that wasn't an issue for, then that's fantastic. And I certainly am one of those people who had some more privilege in some cases, but the vast majority of the people don't. And I think we're coming from a time when I think we've all recognized where often it was just, I know someone, you know, this is this person who plays golf with me, good guy, you know, whatever, or good woman, whatever the situation was. But often there wasn't a true search, a true attempt to get a qualified pool of people into the conversation. We do have conversations in Gannett at the Times Union, and before we have the conversations, this is stuff that we were always looking at to make sure that we were truly trying to become more a diverse newsroom and an inclusive newsroom. And as an industry, all of our papers doing the same thing. But I think that, you know, people sometimes can take that, and I know that's not at all what we're saying here, but we'll think, okay, did you hire someone simply because they were a woman or they were Black or they were LGBTQ or whatever the situation might be? I mean, to me, that's beyond insulting to even think that that would be the case. USA Today is run mostly by women at the moment. And I'll tell you that the person who's at the top of it is incredibly good. I mean, one of the best bosses that I've ever had, and she's a minority. So she's just incredible. And I wouldn't ask for a better one, I think, in a position right now. I think that she's really taken charge on these kind of things. So I think that you can have a diverse working world, which it makes for a better work environment. It truly makes for a better working environment. And have an incredibly talented pool of people. I think that we've been fortunate with that. It's only made us better, in my opinion.
I know for me, just real quick, I've always worked with a very diverse pool of people, and it was because we picked the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And when
That's
you do that, you get access to the talent, and the talent is all of us.
Yeah.
And so you don't really have to look for particulars.
Yeah, and I think COVID really illuminated that, because at the height of when the pandemic first started, I was working for a marketing agency that we served a very diverse client load, bigger companies, mid-sized companies, and working with them on a regular basis. We were a very small team, because agencies typically are, you run lean and mean, and you just do it all. But the clients that we were serving were starting to see the effects of that. A lot of these companies had never done remote work before. You're talking like manufacturing, places where you might have people that you have to implement COVID protocols are completely shut down, but then their whole administrative office had never ever worked remotely. They didn't have any systems, they didn't have anything. And it illuminated the fact that there are a lot of people who were not prepared for not even just the digital age, but even just having, how do you have a meeting and check in with your people and how they're doing, and how do you manage that? And to your point, if you hire the right people, you will never have to worry about your people going home and goofing off, ever. And so I think COVID really illuminated some very antiquated hiring practices, to your point, that if we do our best job, and if you're not feeling valued, my whole life when I worked, I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. And then I kind of just had, everybody comes to a moment where they decide what they really want, and I was almost 30 and I wanted to have a family, and I couldn't get pregnant. And so I actually had to take time off from my job. I was very fortunate. My husband was fully supportive, but we struggled a lot, because just financially you went from having 2 incomes to 1 income, just to literally reduce stress, to try to have a family. And, but I was very, when that happened, my whole life I've been told by a very strong female mentor that you work hard, but you just know that it's the thing that gets you to the next thing. So you take every experience from that first position or those first few jobs, and you parlay it into something else. You just keep rolling it into something else. You're going to learn something. Doesn't mean you should work in a toxic environment that makes you sick, like I did for 5 years and stayed way too long. Very much overstayed my welcome at that organization. But you learn something from every job you've ever had, even when it's your waitressing job or whatever you do to put yourself through school now. You can take so many of those skills into the next thing and chalk it up to an experience, because I'm sure all of us have had jobs that kind of sucked. And that you just had to do what it took, to get through that sometimes, but you're thinking about, this is my next step to where I'm going to be. And I can tell you, even when you get there, my organization has faced some adversity this year. And when you get there, you still are going to have to be able, and if you don't know how to manage really hard things, they're gonna come at you, and you're not gonna know what to do with them, and it could be catastrophic for you in your career. So I think just learning how to weather adversity is super important.
Should you look for that thing that you love to do?
Thanks for tuning in for an inside look at Thursday's Media Week 2022. Stay tuned for this week for more live updates from the School of Communication. I'm Lauren Fox. Thanks for watching.